Here's an interesting question. Why do you think passive stretching has a bad reputation? So the first thing we need to do is define what we mean by passive stretching or flexibility. So it's the ability to go into a stretch regardless of what range of motion you're in. So if I go into a pancake, I can either hold it 10 degrees into the stretch, or I can go right to my end range and hold it there. Both are considered passive or static because I'm not moving. Now, when it comes to flexibility training, there are two main principles we can use to define what flexibility is. Number one is the end range of motion, and number two is the level of comfort. Now, it's the second principle of comfort where static or passive flexibility really comes in. The end range of a movement is the level of depth you have in it. So if I go into a Cossack squat, it's how low I can sink down into the Cossack. Now, for most people, the 100% mark becomes a very uncomfortable zone. So this is where the principle of comfort comes in. Now, if the end range of that movement isn't fully comfortable, can we truly say we've unlocked that movement? Whether that's a pancake, a side split, or any of the fancy movements, I don't think we've fully unlocked that movement until we've achieved that comfort at that end range. So for me, the Cossack squat is a very, very comfortable movement, the same as a squat. However, if I go into a pancake, the end range of my pancake isn't fully comfortable. Even though I can get my belly down to the ground and my back is pretty flat, it still doesn't feel fully comfortable. But if I go up by 10 to 15 degrees, that area becomes a lot more comfortable for me. So technically speaking, that's how much I've actually unlocked the pancake. That must mean we should focus on strengthening the end range of motion and nothing else, right? Not necessarily. It's that 50 to 70% of the range of motion where we can really focus on building comfort. So by allowing ourselves to reduce the intensity, we can now focus more on relaxing into the stretch. One of the ways we can do that, quite simply, is placing our hands on the ground when we're doing certain stretches. This immediately brings on a sense of relaxation, and your body feels a lot safer when there's some form of grounding, either using your hands, belly, or any other part of your body. Now that we define what end range of motion and passive flexibility is, we can now go into the level of comfort. So the measurement we use for comfort is relaxation. The more relaxed we are in a stretch, the deeper we can go into it. When we're doing active exercises, there's a lack of relaxation, especially if you're going right to those extremes of the end range. So if you have 0 on one spectrum and 10 on the other spectrum, 0 being zero sensation whatsoever and 10 being excruciatingly uncomfortable, for the purpose of building comfort, we want to sit on about 6 or 7 out of 10, or again 60 to 70%. This area, it tends to be a little uncomfortable, but not enough that it requires you to pull yourself out of the exercise. Anything above a 7, then it starts to tread around that zone where it starts to feel a little more uncomfortable and you can't spend as much time in the stretch. This is why anything above a 7 is great for training end range of strength or going into active stretching. So hopefully that makes things a bit more clear why passive flexibility is just as important as active flexibility when it comes to building more flexibility in the body.